Welcome to Thursday, July 28th, 2022, meeting of the Hingham Historic Districts Commission. This meeting is called to order at 6:33 p.m. This meeting is being held remotely as an alternate means of public access pursuant to an order issued by the Governor of Massachusetts dated March 12, 2020, suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law. You are hereby advised this meeting and all communications during this meeting may be recorded by the town of Hingham in accordance with open meeting law, and in fact, it is being recorded. We have 6 items on the agenda today. Voting member.
I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman. Before we start, I thought maybe we could introduce our new member.
Sure.
And ask him to say a little bit about himself.
All right. Yes, sorry, we have a new alternate member, Eric.
Hello, everyone. I'm just getting caught up to speed here. Andrea gave me a great introduction this week. I'm an architect working mainly in Boston, but I've been in Hingham a little over 2 years. I have a young family here. We're excited about the community. We love everything about it, and I'm excited to get more involved and enjoy this avenue of it. So thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Welcome, Eric.
Are really glad you're here. Welcome, Eric. Thank you.
Have you memorized all the guidelines yet?
It's right by my side here, so I can pretend like I did at least while we're doing remote meetings.
We flipped through them.
All right. So Daniel is not with us tonight. He's on vacation. So we have 6 items on the agenda. The voting members, I have to name an alternate for each one. Eric, Catherine, Andrea, and I actually visited 194 North Street earlier today. So
I'm surprised I didn't see you there.
Oh, you were there too, Carol?
Yeah.
Okay. So for that one, I think I would ask Eric if you're willing to be a voting member on that one. You're okay with that?
Yes.
And I would ask Mary Ann to be a voting member on the other 5. Are you okay with that?
I am.
Are there any other conflicts of interest on any of the agenda items?
No.
So then we will start with 667 Main Street, which is a continuation from June 16th. Demolish a single-story sunroom on the south side and replace with a new 2-story addition. So who is going to present the changes for that?
Is Jay here? Yeah, Jay Bradley.
Good evening, everyone. Deanna Mateo also works for me, and she's going to pull up the model and share that if that's okay.
Great.
Bringing up the model. Okay, thank you. And would you bring up just the first sheet, please? Option 1. Okay, thank you. So at the last meeting when we met, there was a lot of concern over the mass and suggestions to potentially see what the hip roof would look like as it engaged into the existing historic structure. So what we've done is we've shown the hip roof and how that actually engages into the existing chimney. I'm not sure I'm completely sold on that. You can see how the midpoint element rises up at the left edge of the chimney and creates sort of a really bad condition in terms of the hip and flashing around that existing chimney. as well as both on the front and back side. So I'm really concerned about that, but if it feels like this is more of a general position for the board to move forward to, then we can deal with that. We have also moved the right side of the addition away from the coins of the house as far as we can internally before we engage into the existing window frame that is in plan, both on the first and second floor. So we do want to keep a bit of a space between that so that we're not right up against the casing on those doors and windows. So you can see it revealed a decent amount of the existing veneer. We may have to prep that or repair some of that because it's already been engaged into the first story, first floor existing sun porch. So that may need some work to bring that back, but the upper portion, as you know, is existing and it's exposed. So there won't be too much work there. The overall structure, we thought that the windows were, because they were pulled up high, they were making the mass seem a little bit larger from the second floor perspective. So we've actually increased the height of the window, lowered the sill of the window so that it is in line with the main structure. It feels like this now has become a little bit skinnier and smaller. We did reduce the number of windows on the second floor as well, just so that it is going to be a nursery. We want to make having too many windows in there and at weird positions created a internal dilemma for us. But we also think that that actually makes the mass seem a little bit less in terms of its overall scale. And we also increased the verticality of this by really accentuating the corners and where the structure engages the existing structure. And as well with the material selection, we'll probably do some sort of a vertical joint between the windows and as a band that runs around to differentiate the main structure, the new addition to the main structure. And I think that is the only changes. And I guess just slight change at the base where we spread the two windows on either end and had a central window to, again, it doesn't reduce the mass so much, but it didn't carry that line of windows so that it felt like it was a longer structure. You want to bring up option 2? This option here is what we would prefer. It doesn't have the roof engaged into the main structure, but we did carry the line of the existing fascia. This actually feels, again, a little bit thinner in terms of the overall scale, but the window lines, and you can see on the side that changed just slightly. And you can see by stacking them, it feels like the structure actually feels a little wider. So having that reduced number of windows on the at the second level, I think is what we would prefer. And other than that, I think the siding and the veneer is going to stay the same in both options. If anyone has any questions, I'd love to.
Yeah, I have a quick question. When I looked at the application from last month, it looked like that you had already pulled it back from the coins and there's a little bit of existing siding showing.
Mhm.
It doesn't look like it moved too much. How much did you move it?
believe that's about 6 inches, but again, the interior has an existing opening.
No, I remember that. I'm just,
Okay.
you noted that, there might have to be some repair work to the siding now. And I'm wondering if that 6 inches is worth it, because, it's good. It is a little bit further away, but then I just worry about trying to replace siding or patch siding or something like that. And in a way to try to gain a couple inches, we've created a little bit more of a mess there on the corner. So
Yeah, unfortunately, I don't know because they, I don't know if they shot the frame into the existing brick
Yeah.
when they put that addition on.
Okay.
I just can't tell. And I don't know what the ledger looks like. I mean, most of that's going to be hidden anyways within the new structure, but it is that edge that I'm concerned about.
So the main difference between option 1 and 2 is you get rid of the middle window on the first floor, and you change from a hip roof back to the flat roof.
Correct.
That's all my questions. Good, Carol.
Okay, Tom.
Hi, the application says to remove the old porchy thing that's there now. Is that going no matter what happens? I went down, took a close look at it. I'm not sure exactly what's holding it up.
Yeah, there's literally no foundation. It looks like it's a slab on grade. So yeah.
And it's sliding glass doors facing Main Street, sort of a big no-no. But I think that may have all gone on before this became a historic district. Do you think?
Yeah.
I don't think that would have passed in a historic commission. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I think, Carol, if I remember correctly, that's like a 3-season room, and they're trying to turn it into a full condition year-round space.
take it down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I agree with that. So you got my vote on that part.
Yeah. It looks
There's
like there was,
absolutely no way on earth I could ever vote to cover up the brick end of an 1835 brick end federal building. I don't get it. Go out the back, go up the, it's just such a no-no. Did you read through all our guidelines?
What is
there's no way to get out onto the back without tearing off the existing porch, and then we don't have access to it. We can't go through the existing bedroom to create another bedroom. There's a bedroom, it's a there's 4 bedrooms at the corners. So creating another bedroom through a bedroom would ruin the interior as well.
That's your interior problem. I'm looking at the outside of it from a public view, the sidewalk. I went down, took a lot of pictures. It sits up very close to the sidewalk, so it's very easy to see that the condition of the porch that was put on the side. So I really admire you taking that down. I think that's a magnificent decision, but covering up the brick end of a brick end 1835 structure, I don't know how you came up with that or where you thought that that was okay to do. Have you read through all the guidelines?
I have. We just don't, from a functional standpoint, we just can't put where we have the driveway on the right-hand side. The back position doesn't work. This is an existing structure that is defunct, and it's really a significant eyesore to the historic building. I think this is actually a much better improvement to the building rather than what we have existing.
Sorry, I just can't do it. That's 200-year-old brick. It's been there since the house was built. There are not that many good brick and federals in Hingham. I happen to live in one. I'd never even think of covering up the sides, put it any other place or not at all. I mean, it's a huge house to begin with. You've got some other outbuildings that look like they're being lived in the back. Not our business, but gee.
But
Hi.
Ms. Rogers, go ahead.
Hi. There's nobody living in our outbuildings there for ours, for our use, but just like our personal situation, I'm not sure, Carol, you were on the last meeting, our first one, yeah. So this was something that didn't come up at all at feedback at our last meeting, so this is new to us.
I know, I was sitting down at the Cape watching it live twice and screaming at my television set, my TV set.
So we, just like from our personal standpoint, we're a family of 6. We have 4 young children that are 7 and under. And on our second floor, we only have 3 bedrooms for 6 of us. So we are trying to find a way to get a nursery for our youngest baby. So this is where we are trying to use this for the functionality of our family and how to make the house work for us. And
That's your goal, and our goal is to maintain the historic district, preserve, protect, defend the historic homes and the look of the neighborhood, and covering up the side of a brick and federal doesn't fill our mission. I'm sympathetic, put something on the back, do whatever you can do, but move to a bigger house. But
we wish we had that feedback 6 weeks ago, because we could have lost, we could have spent some time doing things differently, and not to say that we would have. It's news to us. I think it's clearly an eyesore, that whole side of the house, and it's going to be a huge improvement. I mean, we've held off on landscaping. We're trying to figure out this piece of it so that we can beautify and kind of maintain some tradition, but at the same time, kind of, move forward. The house is kind of not as functional as you would imagine on the inside. We're kind of trying to work within your guidelines. It would have been great to have that feedback, especially as interest rates continue to tick up today. This is seriously more expensive project than it was 6 weeks ago. It's going to be even more expensive, I'm sure, if we have to waste more time here.
well, you could have come before us just with the general idea before all the architectural plans were drawn. You spent all the money and got all involved in it. Just a quick call to Andrea might have triggered a conversation saying, you're living in a 200-year-old brick and federal.
I have
That's
spoken to Andrea several times, and I met with her last week and shared these plans with her as well.
Good.
So.
Does anyone else have any questions?
Yeah, Catherine, Mary Ann.
I have a question on a comment that was made, and I'm not sure I understood it correctly. Increase the verticality of the windows. My question is, why increase from what? And are you increasing the verticality and departing from the original windows that are part of the house?
The first version that we submitted last 6 weeks ago, or at the last meeting, the upper windows, the sill height was a little bit higher, and it felt like the mass was a little bit more squat and fatter. And the feedback we got was that the building looked the massing was not right. So by reducing the sill height, it gave the structure a little bit more verticality visually. We didn't change the mass at all, except for a slight push in from the front to reveal the coins. But I think this actually feels a little bit more slender. I didn't want to carry the windows around to mimic the existing structure. I wanted to differentiate, but with the comments regarding the massing, by doing that, it made this feel a little bit, I think, thinner and smaller compared to the main structure.
What would be wrong with mimicking the main structure, which, as Carol indicated, is 200 years old and is part of, the historic district streetscape? What would be incorrect in mimicking that, other than
I don't know what that is. It's my understanding that any addition to a historic building doesn't want to mimic the past. It wants to be part. It wants to sit as its own, so that it can differentiate and really not try to blend in with the existing structure. You want to differentiate the historic structure from the new structure. yet still make it feel as though it is working with the existing structure.
Really?
There's somebody that should be muted who isn't. Is it you, Madeline? If you're not muted, please mute yourself. Because we can hear all this chatter.
Can the meeting host mute Madeline?
Sure, one moment.
Oh, that's good.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tracy.
She's done.
I have a couple of comments and yeah, so I'd say one thing that was stated in the last meeting is that the massing in general, the height, the massing overall felt big and not in proportion to the main home. It wasn't complementary. It seemed, I seemed to go right to it. I think the way you've treated the corner boards is actually increasing that feeling of tallness on that left side instead of the previous treatment, which created a top eave board, I guess you call it. I don't know what you call that board that went all the way around the top, the cornice board around underneath the gutter line. And I don't think it's serving this addition well at all. I think that the goal is to diminish it as much as possible to make it look shorter, smaller, more diminutive to the main property, the main historic home. I think that just banking the windows has gone a long way to creating a narrower effect without doing those tall corner boards, which read really contemporary. We want it to be different from, and maybe not mimic exactly the style of the original property, but this is with the vertical boards, B-groove, I assume that is, it really is not working. It's competing with the main body. So maybe treating it all with clapboards or something like that. This treatment doesn't seem to be the treatment of the trim, and the vertical boards are just not working. As far as Carol's comments go in the federal, covering up the federal building on the side, I can't think of another situation where we did approve that now that it's been brought to my attention. I would say there was a property on Middle Street where we enclosed the porch, which did hide a lot of that brick. There was a connector between a garage and the main federal house, and there was a connector that we allowed, a breezeway that we allowed them to enclose to cover up that lower portion of the brick. But I can't really think of another time we did approve that. And then thirdly, I think that to access this nursery on the second floor, you would have to go through the master. Is that correct? So that you're already creating a railroad bedroom to get into this bedroom. So perhaps there's another solution. Because even with these changes, the mass is still substantial. And it's still, minus the roof issue, which I haven't even gone into, it is still feeling really, really massive. So I don't know if there's a way to do a railroad bedroom in the back. That's obviously preferred. And I would.
So we actually, the plan would be we wouldn't actually have a kind of a railroad bedroom. We would have access to a nursery from the main room. That would be kind of the
from the primary bedroom.
It would be more of a nursery. We can wall off a room in the front there was a wall previously taken down to make a larger master bedroom. That doesn't require any exterior work.
I can't really address the interior of your home, unfortunately. I was just going on the assumption that this would have to be a railroad bedroom, assuming that that was a bedroom in that upper left-hand corner. And then as far as the roof line, I would just say that I do think the hipped roof is much more pleasing to the eye. It balances the dormer on the right side of the house. And I believe there's a way to create a cricket in between the chimney and the ridge of that so that you will not have an ice dam situation there. So that it would all flow seamlessly without worrying about, ice and water damage.
You can definitely deal with the water issues and the ice damming. It's how do you connect to that existing mason chimney? I would be concerned about it. It's over 100 years old, and you can see where the edge, it's almost a cricket on a cricket. You can see, can you spin around to the back side? So I've got multiple crickets and into a valley. That's a really bad connection point for any roof or chimney situation. I wouldn't advise on that.
I'd like to hear comments from Tracy.
Justin, did you have anything?
I did look and notice that in the last meeting, the drawings that we had didn't depict the brick side, which may explain why we didn't have share concerns over covering up.
Yeah, I think there's a hatch on the existing elevations, but I don't think it was called out.
I'm looking at it right now and I find it very, it's unapparent. And I would agree with Carol that would be tragic to cover up.
Yeah, it's our only comment would be it's not entirely visible from the road because of the existing kind of situation that's going on where it's overgrown. I think, we'd be paying, we're kind of exposing the bricks here and trying to work within the guidelines. I'd say it's totally an eyesore now. And if we painted it white, which I think we're totally allowed to do within the guidelines, it's got the same effect. Here, at least we're exposing some portion of the red brick. If you look at the other houses around us, all the other red bricks been painted over. Actually, my preference here would be to paint it over, but we're trying to keep it. We know people drive by and appreciate the brick, so we're trying to keep that for sure on one side of the driveway side, but we are, I believe, allowed to paint it white. And I think it has the same effect as, the addition here, which is likely not even going to be visible from the road after we.
Oh, I have to intercede. Sorry. I walk by the house every day of my life, 50 years. And I can tell you, except for a scraggly pine tree right at the very corner of this porch that you have, and some little shrubs that are there, we're not allowed to consider how it looks with or without shrubbery. You have to assume the next people that move into the house hate shrubbery and cut it all down to the ground. We have to look at it, and that shows from all the way up at the top of the hill as you're walking down. The whole side there is visible from the street and the sidewalk, not to mention your nice neighbor next door who came out to talk to me about it.
Oh, interesting. They didn't seem to voice any concerns with us. I think our plan would be if we scrubbed it now, we could leave the sunroom and let everybody see that. But I think this is an improvement. Yeah. We're happy. We're happy to do that if we need. It's not for lack of trying here. I think some of this feedback is news to us.
I think we're shell shocked. How can a house that big have only 3 bedrooms? What's the 4th area for? Is there a picture looking down on the
There.
2nd floor?
Pull up the plan.
Yes, so we moved into the house in as is condition, and yeah, there's some challenges here. The 3rd floor, there's some roof challenges too. We don't want little kids up there. There's a couple rooms up there that don't make any sense at all. So we're just trying to work step by step to kind of restore this home to.
That's the second floor we're looking at now?
Yeah, you can see there's only 3 bedrooms.
Because one is twice the size of a bedroom, right?
That's the owner's suite, yes.
You put a wall across, you know, 4.
I think it's important that we stay within our jurisdiction, which is
Yeah.
not.
Well, I'm just questioning why.
Agreed, yeah.
So what I'm hearing is if there was a motion tonight, I don't think it would pass. I think covering up the brick is probably a deal breaker. That takes the hip roof versus the flat roof, kind of makes that point moot. Brings the scale down if that nursery can be moved somewhere else. I think if you were to paint the brick white, I do think that still has to go through at least Andrea, and she would probably consult with me. So I don't think that you just have as of right to paint over that brick.
So then you guys would deny that relative to our neighbors, even though they've been given that right?
They haven't necessarily been given that right. They may have done it before. It may have been painted before it was a historic district.
I guess what's just frustrating to us is
6
that
weeks.
we've been through all of this, and right here on the existing plan, it's very clear that that is brick on the side. And last week, the only feedback we kind of got was that you guys would like us to make it the mass feel less and see some different roofing options,
It's heartbreaking,
which
honestly.
we,
Yeah.
worked with our architect, and then I met with Andrea about, and now we're coming back and we're hearing all these new different concerns. So it's just like a little bit frustrating for us and putting us in a tricky situation financially, and, trying to figure out how to make this work. And the window on this side of the home is not original to the home. We have pictures from 1967 of the home with these windows, and they're actually 2/1. So somebody, at some point took all of the original windows out and put these 12/12 in. So we were, cognizant of that fact that this, is not an original window that we're removing from the home at all. And really, to make it work for our family, this is kind of the only way that we can easily go off and also improve the eyesore and the dilapidated, falling apart sunroom that is sitting on the side of our house right now.
Andrea, do you know the date of the historic district established in this area?
It was,
Wilder or something?
I believe it was late 80s.
1980s, yeah. So that was before all this.
Yeah, it's a little bit disheartening that we had these existing conditions with the brick veneer, and that's now becoming a deal breaker. It was clear in the drawings, and we talked about exposing the brick, pulling the facade away from the brick. I'm surprised to hear this now.
I'm looking at the drawings that we reviewed at the last meeting and don't see the same image that I see on the screen here.
It is.
It is, it's there.
It's not labeled.
We
It
talked
also shows up in one photo on the back.
Yeah, at the bottom, we also have photos of the home, right, of how it's existing.
Yep.
Yeah, and so those are also included in the first meeting. And so I guess, we tried really hard to go back, and, we didn't get sort of any specific clear feedback. We felt like it was kind of like, hey, we would like to see some different window configurations. We'd like to see the hip roof. We'd like to, maybe expose the brick from the coins a little bit more. And we worked really hard and, spent a lot of time to go back and do that. And we didn't present any new information in terms of photos to you guys or, you know, the existing facade, and to have, you know, us come back now and there's all these new host of problems. I mean, it's.
I think there's one, I apologize. I understand the frustration, but I think with the exception of covering up the brick, the comments are the same. The roof is still an issue. The massing is still an issue. The height is still an issue. And now we have the brick. And I don't think there's any issue with replacing the sunroom on the first floor. I think the issue is covering up the brick and the size of the mass. And it seems like, you know, either not having that second story or finding a different location for it in the back would solve all the comments that have been given. I think there's a lot of common comments between the two. The new one is covering up the historic brick.
We wish that we could do an addition off the back, but someone just spent a couple $100,000 on that addition off the back. So it would be wasted money. And I know I wish I had enough money to do a bunch of work here, but this is the option. So I would say, how about we settle on this? We're painting the brick white. I mean, we're going to paint this brick white and move to do that. I don't know why there wouldn't be any reason why we couldn't do that.
You have to go through the historic commission, and I don't think it would get approved.
It probably wouldn't.
Okay.
I could not approve that.
I guess.
So
this is far.
Andrea, when I met with you and I came and
Yes.
sat with you and I went through this with you and kind of explained our
Tell me the attorney,
situation
right.
and, like, you know, what we had tried to work through, you seemed like you were in agreement with me that we, you know, had made the improvements that were suggested and that it was looking good from your point of view.
I think the last meeting should be recorded too. I mean, this
It
It is recorded. And as I looked,
Seen it twice.
excuse me, as I looked at the recording, which you all should do, basically what Tracy says is correct, with the exception of the brick. Most of the things were mentioned. I think it is very difficult to, and Megan, I agree with you. I think you and Jay have done a great job responding to the suggestions of the board. It is very difficult, however, I think, you know, we can't design it for you. However, you know, I think Tracy is correct, with the exception of the brick, the exposed brick, which cannot be painted white. You know, that's really the feedback that
There's
you
a bunch of
responded to.
houses on Main Street with the brick painted white. I don't understand that comment at all.
Maybe you can tell me which ones they are. Give me
Uh,
the addresses.
608, 659, that's just two that I know.
Those, I'm sorry, those homes may have painted their brick in 1920, long before, or the historic districts were established. We can't control what has already existing. We can only control what to be moving forward, or try to. You know, it's frustrating, certainly. It's an imperfect process. We look to all the board members to pick up details so that we can all do our best to make assessments on these homes, and just not even including the brick situation, this is not going to work.
And I just wonder, I will look at each of those that you mentioned, 608 and 659. I don't think 608 is not a federal. And have they painted the sides, or have they painted the chimney? What?
There's one side and the chimney, but I mean, that doesn't matter to me. I'm more concerned about just, you know, our home really, and what we, you know, that part wasn't part of it. It was just,
Understood.
yeah, I mean, we are just felt like all of this information about the existing home and what it looked like and pictures and everything was submitted last time, and our feedback, you know, was kind of a couple things. And yeah, maybe we haven't gotten to the mark on those things yet, but it seems like, well, then a lot of time and money is wasted if you guys are now telling us, or you're never going to approve this. And there really is no other place to put this third, come over here, this room that we need for our family to make it functional. But
Can perhaps the board can give some very specific feedback. I think it's, which truthfully, we didn't do as well last time. So I think perhaps we can do a little bit better this time.
To me, it doesn't sound like the second floor would get approved. So I think if the sunroom was replaced, I understand that there's a head height in the issue in the sunroom, especially if a new foundation and a new true floor is built in order to be flush with the existing first floor, that the head would have to move up, which may require that roof to go up a little bit, which would cover a little bit of brick. But I think that would be a little bit easier to swallow than covering up the entire side with the second floor. I think that would solve the issue with the mass, the issue with the roof. And the windows on the bottom have always been the same size as, you know, height wise as the first floor. It was only the second floor windows that were changed between last month and this. But I think that's kind of where we're at. At least that's what I'm hearing. If anyone else.
No, I would agree with Tracy. Yeah.
This doesn't feel good. We're really nice people and we try so hard to give the homeowner what they need and want.
well, it feels, you know, it doesn't feel good at all. And when I just kind of was telling you what I need, you kind of were like, well, it's not our concern.
Told us to
what
move. You
need.
told us to move.
Said to-
You said we should move. That's on record. No,
We didn't tell you to move.
she did.
Well,
She said we should move.
Carol said maybe get a new house.
Maybe get a new house. That's what she said. That's very welcoming, Carol.
Obviously upset
Yeah,
because this
no
is
joke.
cost
I
us
just
a
spent all that
lot
money.
of
I lost
money
6
in
weeks.
our
75
house.
basis points.
Oh dear,
Okay, time to move on.
So
I'm sorry. Who told you to move?
Carol said, you know, that's not our problem. You can move into a new house. She
No, I
said,
didn't. Go back and look at the tape. It said you might consider a larger house if you need it. There are other options too. You can also take the back part of
our
that one
home. I mean,
bedroom.
this is our home and we don't have space to go off the back. We don't have, you know, all the financial, you know, at our disposal to just, you know, do whatever. I mean, there's not a lot of options with this house where the driveway is, where existing rooms are, where things are. We just don't have, this was the best option that we had. And
Well, I think it makes it's the most logical location, both from a plan, and I know you can't think of the plan, but you have a significant eyesore on an existing historic building, and we're trying to do something to improve it, both from the exterior and provide functionality for the family. And they have a very young family that can't go up into the attic. The stairs are treacherous. It's just unsafe. And even if we were to push off the back, it means we're spending a significant amount of money to relocate an existing bathroom and take off an existing porch that's not sized correctly for, or a cabana that's not sized for a two-story addition. So it just, I mean, I'm disappointed because this should have been brought up at the last meeting where it was clearly.
agree, it should have been brought up, and I think Catherine has apologized, I have apologized, Andrea has apologized.
And I wasn't here, so I apologize.
So, you know, understand the hardship over these past 6 weeks for not having that comment 6 weeks ago. I the second floor is not going to be, I don't see any way it's going to be approved through this commission. So there's two options. We can withdraw the application, come back later, or we can continue it if you think that there's a way to, you know, that you still want to replace the sunroom and figure out a nursery somewhere else. So I think that's up to you, up to the applicant. You don't have to decide now. We can note it as a continuation, and the applicant can touch base with Andrea in the next week or so, whether the application will be withdrawn or continued to the next meeting.
Okay, we'll discuss with Megan and Pete on which direction we want to go. If we withdraw, are there any barriers for us to resubmit for?
No,
this?
none.
No, it just, there's a clock ticking from when the first application went in, so.
But a new application, a resubmission, this is withdrawn without prejudice.
Okay,
So we'll note it in the minutes tonight as a continuation, and we can touch base with Andrea in the next week or two.
Okay.
All right.
all right, thank you for your time.
No,
you.
thank you.
Thank you.
Next on the agenda, 2 Home Meadows. Redesign existing entrance, new pilasters and entablature.
I think Al Kearney is here to talk about that. Al, you're muted. Hi, Laura.
Hi, how are you?
Yeah, well, Al's here, but he's just not speaking. But maybe you can, to begin with.
Can you see me? Am I there?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, we can hear
Hello.
you. That's what's important.
Well, hi. Thank you for that last hearing. That was a difficult one to follow, I think. But this should be a little bit more straightforward. I think you have the drawing maybe in front of you. We're essentially increasing the size of the front sort of entablature, just vertical. We're just trying to get a little more presence out of this piece of architecture.
Thank you, Tracy.
Just to sort of give the house a little more street appeal. So it's just adding about a foot of height and an increase of pitch on that roof slope, from about a 6 to about an 8. And all detailed and dimension drawings would follow this if in fact it gets approved. So the drawing I sent to you, the proposed elevation, just shows the idea of what would be. And we're adding a fan detail above the door. So it's it would be white, it would be in the same color, and same, feel of what's there now, just a little more, I don't know, impressive, I guess.
Is that a fan window or is that wood molding?
I'm sorry?
Is that a fan window or?
No,
is
it's molding.
It's molding.
Yeah,
It's all molding. Is it all wood?
It's all wood.
Yep.
Yes.
And is this modeled, oh, sorry, Carol, is this modeled out after some, a home that you've seen in Hingham, or is this out of your head?
No, it's a one-off based on some imagery that I shared with Laura. We went through a lot of design studies. The house as it sits is right on the 25-foot setback. So we can't really add anything. Laura was hoping to get a porch and maybe through a variance and some relief, but that was a big ask. So we sort of scaled it down and further refined it to get to this level of design. So that's the short history of where we're coming from.
Good, Carol.
It really helped me to go down and look at the house. I know your neighbor, and we've spent a lot of time down there working on another house that's going to go in across from you, sort of. In concern with the scale of this, and was it too wonderful and beautiful for a plain house? This house is sort of father the bride, kind of plain across the front. And having looked at the house closely and studied, I think it's going to be beautiful. It's really going to give you a focal point in the front on what's a fairly predictable plain house. The fenestration isn't crazy or anything. And I think it's the house with its addition and piece on the side is plenty big enough to pull this off. I think it's a great idea, and I think it looks beautiful.
Thank you.
Mary Ann, any questions?
No, I don't. I think that, I have one question. What's the age of the house?
I think it was 1953 or 63.
Okay, so what the existing door facade is really not, antique, vintage, etc. So by embellishing it, you're really giving some wow appeal to the position of the house. And I like wow appeal, so I certainly agree with that.
Thank you.
Justin?
I have nothing to add to what's already been said. I think it looks appropriate to me.
Thank you.
So in the absence of Daniel, does someone want to make a motion? It's an easy one.
It is an easy
I'll
one.
do it. I'm out of practice because Daniel is doing them all. I'd like to make a motion for a certificate of appropriateness for 2 Home Meadows Lane for a new front pilasters and entablature. Now, is that door all going to be new, or are you going to be? Is that it? You repurposing the door, or are you getting a new door?
No, I actually like the door. It looks old and vintage, and I like it.
Okay. So just for the molding to be all in wood. And then I guess the lighting will come later. You'll put another application in for the lighting, or are you going to reuse your current lighting?
I think I would like to replace them, so I'll come back with that. I haven't picked anything yet.
Okay.
I think that can just go through Andrea.
Yeah.
I'll mute Andrea, but I read.
Oh yeah, that the standard lighting can be approved through Andrea, I think. Anything unusual, I guess, needs to come back. And I think that's it, right? Did I do it?
Colors to match.
Oh, and the dated. Oh, trim to match. Is that what you said, Justin?
Colors. Yeah, I was just saying colors to match existing trim.
Dated
Yes.
6/10/22.
Is there a second?
And I just,
Mary Ann, how do you vote?
Aye.
Carol, how do you vote?
I
Catherine?
Aye.
Justin?
Aye.
It's an aye for me. Motion passes 5-0.
Thank you.
thank you.
All right, made up a little bit of time. Next item, 302 North Street. Move existing house 5 feet, construct 2-story rear addition with attached garage. I see Mr. Bridgeman. Are you presenting, or
Al is.
Al's here again? All
Yep.
right, Al.
Back to back. Hey, so I don't know if you folks have driven by the house knowing it was coming up on the agenda, or I've seen it over the years. It's almost on the street. It's very close to the street line. So we're going to move the house back 5 feet, and that will help with its street frontage, I think. But then the house itself is quite small. The original older portion of the house is quite small, and we're going to preserve that. We're going to raise it up to get it out of the floodplain and push it back and preserve the front portion, and then build out as far back as we can this new addition. So I'm trying to be very thoughtful and sensitive to honoring the original home, but it's quite tiny. It's a challenge. So this is what I've come up with as far as sort of how the roof lines would work, how the mass would work. It could go a lot higher by code, but I'm trying to keep the rigid low, again, to sort of honor the main house and all of that. And then the left side has an existing addition with a sort of a big hipped roof that would be removed, and this new gable facing roof would be designed, and then with a perpendicular gable ended roof up as far back as we can go. So, and then we're adding a one-car garage to the right side with a bedroom above that and a breezeway, the standard mudroom connectivity to the back of the house. So all things considered, it's a kind of it may look very aggressive, only because the main house is so small. When it's all said and done, we're going to have a total of 2,800 square feet. The existing house now has 1,252 square feet. And that doesn't even include the second floor. It's a small second floor. It's a good sized addition, but some of that goes back to the garage. And there's no basement or anything like this. So, and then there's an existing garage that's also tight to the street. I don't know, we haven't really talked about it, Frank and I. We're not sure if that's going to stay or if it would need to go, or if it becomes a potting shed or something different. It can stay, and we can physically get a car in and out of the driveway, but it may not ultimately stay for any number of reasons, structural concerns or anything else like that. But that's pretty much it. I'll just, Frank, if you want to add anything, please do. Or
No, I think you did a good job, Al, explaining it.
I like the addition. I like what we come up with. So, so there's that. It has interesting roof lines. I'm trying to create some shadow lines, some interest, some depth. Honor the main house, honor the roof lines, kind of play off that, create a balance. That's what I'm trying to do here.
Andrea,
Yeah,
sorry to interrupt. Isn't North Street our oldest street in Hingham?
it is.
It's our oldest street all the way back to the other end, from the harbor all the way back, right? It's our oldest street. in
Yes,
Hingham.
it is.
Okay, I just wanted to clarify that to start out. I just wanted the members to all know that. And then I think, Al, to be honest, I found this application really hard to look at. I found that there was no before drawings, there's no as-built, so it's really hard to get a sense for the mass of this thing to compare. So I'd really like to see the befores and afters on the same page. That would be really useful for the commission. I would say right off the bat, for me, I drove by today, it is a startling contrast to what is there. It is a very modest, diminutive, sweet cottage, and this is doubling it. You're putting a whole second story on the home. It's a drastic change, drastic. I would also say that an attached garage, we have some, I just want to say, we have had some attached garages in historic districts that I have seriously regretted. And I think it changes the entire feel of the district. And I'm actually really disappointed in myself for approving a few of them. But I wanted to say that out loud so that the commission could also maybe consider the impact of that massing in this small little lot. And then as far as that little garage goes, it's adorable little garage right on the street. The whole setting and composition of this cottage and the garage is really darling. If you go to Google Maps, you can see the garage is actually set down low in behind those bushes. It's really kind of unique and special. There's nothing like it in in Hingham, as far as I know. I've never seen a little teeny garagey thing like that right on the street. So I guess I would like to make sure that this application, as it moves forward, is really comprehensive, because I think this is a special and unique property, and I have a lot of concerns. So that's all I have to say.
Well, thank you.
I think I would assume we're gonna end up with the site visit here, but I want to make sure that Al and the Bridgemans get some good feedback on. We won't be able to discuss those changes at the site visit. I want to make sure that they get some good feedback as to what we think. So, go ahead, Carol. Thank you, Catherine. Go ahead, Carol.
I also went down there today. I can't believe we didn't all run over each other. That house is so close to the street, it's really frightening. And especially since we just dealt with the old Lincoln house, it needed the pilasters, whatever they're called, out in front for safety. Ballards. Has this ever been hit? And if so, why?
Yes.
Why wasn't it?
Twice.
Twice. Okay. I think, well, I'm usually against moving houses that have been there forever and ever. I think in this case, this is a safety issue. You don't want people driving into your living room while you're sitting there at night. I think 5 feet, I would go more if I could, but I think that's a no-brainer. You've got to get this house back off the street. I think I agree with Catherine completely. We really need to see more detail about what you'd like to build. I also agree with the little thing that is called a garage. I think it may be like a chicken coop or something. It's way down low. It's sunken in the ground, but it's very charming and has a stone wall and all that. I'd love to see you save that, even if you don't park in it. It's just one of a kind. It's hard to see what's going on the left side of the house because of the hedge and how much property you have. I went down the little drive next to you, which goes into the woods. I didn't know there was a wooded down there. Can't believe somebody hasn't built on it all this time. But I'd like to see whatever you're going to do staked out or something, so we see how much space is going to take out. I think there's something very charming about it being an old cave. Do we know the date of it?
1840s.
Yeah, it's 18, I think 1820 to 1840. Yeah.
Yeah, I would have said a little earlier too, but I'll take 1840. So as long as you respect what's there now, moving it back doesn't change that. And I noticed that all of your neighbors are way back, even across the street. They're up 50 and 60 feet from the street. Your neighbors are back in quite far. I think that's a no-brainer, get the house moved back. But what goes on in the back, and I agree with Catherine, we try to avoid attached garages. That says modern house. Nobody wanted their smelly cows and horses attached to the house. So if you can separate the garage and make it look like an old barn, that would be terrific. But the owners are in good hands. We know you'll do a good job with this. I think it'll work out. Okay.
Can I address the moving of the house and the work involved? So the existing house is structurally in tough condition, and it's in the floodplain. So you really can't renovate the house fully because you trigger the floodplain requirements of moving it up out of the floodplain. So, I'm forced into doing that, basically to bring the house into compliance. As far as what we did out back, I was pretty, didn't want to go into the wetlands area any further than I had to. I'm just encroaching on the 100-foot buffer in one corner of the building. And so I just wanted, so we were limited. It's a very challenging lot, not looking for any variances. As far as the massing goes, unfortunately, I'm at a disadvantage because it is a smaller home. If it was 2 stories, I could go to double the size of the house backwards, but I can't. So it's a pretty complicated project. Hopefully we can work together and get something done.
Mm-hmm.
And Carol, I don't think you were suggesting moving the house from historic considerations.
No.
You were just noting the opportunity
Safety.
to,
Completely safety, yeah.
yep.
I have a few questions. Have you gone to Conservation Commission yet or no?
No, I'm gonna go through historic. I have plenty of time. I'm in no rush. I actually rent the house now. So my plans are not to do this project for at least another year, maybe two. I intend to, this is something that maybe I'm going to be living in. So I want to make sure it works. I understand the attached garage thing. We can deal with that. But it's a very challenging building in addition here to make it work. So
Yeah, that's easy to see. Yep.
Is the foundation historic?
excuse me, the
The
foundation.
existing foundation.
The existing foundation is partial stone at grade in the front portion of the house, and in the back portion, it's a small little basement where the utilities once were. There's nothing there. It floods. It's in, you know, it's in the water table. There is an addition where the bushes hide the addition that was put on there. I don't know when it was, but it's fairly modern. That's the master bedroom. That's that hip roof area there. We're staying within that footprint as well. We're going out backwards. The sunroom actually was added on, I believe, 20 years ago. So it must have went through the Historic Commission at some point. So that was not original to the house as well.
But that doesn't show from the road.
The sunroom does show from the road, the gable end on the driveway.
Oh, that's the sunroom way in the back there?
Yes.
So that was 20 years ago. You're demoing that. This top photo we're all looking at, that side elevation, the three windows, the door, that whole portion of the house is part of the historic home.
Yes, and there's a small bump out in the back on the left-hand side where the chimney is. That is, looks like it's original with the house, or it's hard to tell with this particular house. I believe the house was even smaller and the rear two-window area was added on.
Can you tell by the foundation?
There's a newer foundation there, but that doesn't tell you when it was built.
It's not cinder blocks.
It's poured concrete, but they could have dug it out and put it underneath the original. Some of the structure and roof are post. It's all post and beam.
Oh.
But it could have been built at a later date.
I just want to add one last thought. I know that we had an application last month, right on, sorry, what was that? Was it Lincoln Street? North Street. Thank you, Carol, for those bollards.
Bollards.
For the bollards. And then maybe that is a solution that could be put in place with this situation as well, because
you know what, the both times it was hit from the house across the street.
Oh.
So I don't think I think I don't believe there's a problem of it being hit like the other homes, just from the geometry of the way the cars going by. We just thought that if we have to raise the house up a foot and a half, we might as well move it back a few feet to get it off. It's basically on the front line.
Well, my point is that if you don't have to move it, and perhaps there's a way to use that extra footage in the back for maybe expanding the square footage in a first floor, one level scenario. I know
It's
you're
not going to happen in one level. That's the problem.
Yeah.
It can't, because you're too restricted. I have no problem leaving the house exactly where it is, but in this process, I can't do anything to it, which I need to bring it to floodplain compliance. And in order to do that,
raising the foundation, is that, or raising it off of the foundation? What is that? What are the restrictions on that? Just so we know.
Well, okay, I thought you might be aware of this. So if you're in the floodplain, you can only do a certain percentage of work before you have to take the entire property into floodplain compliance. So the existing house is, a foot into the floodplain, 1.5 feet. So you've got to lift it above that. And then you can renovate the house. Even if you were to do the house as it is, you'd have to do the same thing.
When you move it back, are you moving it up or no?
No, we have to move it up to
Okay,
bring it
you're
into
moving it up.
compliance. Because
So since you have to move it up anyway, you figure you move
to
it
get
back,
out of the
get some safety
floodplain,
from the-
to, to bring it into conservation compliance. I can't do the Conservation Commission is going to require me to bring it into compliance.
So,
Okay, I understand that.
Mr. Bridgeman, so you don't own this house, this is speculative, you
No, he's
might
renting
buy,
it
No,
out.
no,
He
I
owns
own
it,
the
he's
house.
renting it.
I'm just
Oh.
renting it.
you're not the renter.
I couldn't move into it. I didn't want to move into it until I did the work.
I see.
He's the landlord.
You're landlord, not the
I'm not
renter.
really a landlord, but
I gotcha. Okay. Thank you.
my mother owned the house for 26 years. And so, I'm very familiar with the property and the problems with the house. I maintained it for them for the last 20 years, so.
Nice.
Thank you. I'm just trying to understand this.
She didn't really agree with any of the Historic District Commission's rules. So, but she loved the house. She loved the property.
It's gorgeous. It's a gorgeous cottage.
Can I interrupt and just ask who owns the wooded land behind it? Or
That's the adjacent lot. There's a colonial next to the new house. You guys probably approved that new house on North Street, up a little ways. It's that house, and then there's a Dutch colonial, and so the lots in between that's owned by that property there, it's just unbuildable because it's in the floodplain.
Oh,
Yep.
okay. I wondered.
The other house down the street was in the floodplain, but it was a lot that was created before the rules and regulations were in existence, so.
You're talking about, what is it, 280 or what is it?
Yeah, you approved the house and then they went back and approved the 2-car garage
Oh, yeah, well, let me
Yeah.
tell you,
with the,
the approval of the house was, that went back and forth with DEP and conservation.
oh yeah.
And
it was
it
very
had to be
complicated.
built so that they're breakaway panels. It was just really a nightmare.
Yep. So you have to provide those same not panels, but a flow through foundation
Yeah,
in this project, or build it on piers and do lattice, a board. It's only going to be, a small, most of the house is sitting in grade, close to grade now. So, it's not going to be a real noticeable area.
Not going to get any better over the years.
No.
So I did want to say one thing that I think may help all of us going forward. Again, thank you for kind of filling this in initially, and I'm sort of getting my bearings here as I join this process, but I think going forward, what I'm hearing a lot is the concern of the mass in the backside of the home, and probably some studies, either 3D or Photoshops of the approaches of that addition going forward, I think would be really helpful for everyone to see as you're coming down the road, what the impact is of the addition from both ends. The wooded land, probably less concerning because you don't see much from that side, but specifically coming from the west, I think that might help facilitate the conversation a lot better going forward. So everyone can understand that addition. With the first pass, I do appreciate the design intent of having sort of the middle height mass leading to the larger mass in the back, the gable that's done on the, I'll call it the back side of the home, and sort of leading up to the larger mass might help it not feel quite as looming. But I think those 3D studies, or of some way, whether it's, I don't know what software you're using in the designs, but collage, Photoshop, I think would help everyone as we go forward.
I think all the suggestions are good.
Yeah.
And just for the record, I I support the idea of moving it back and raising it. If that's the path, I think that's health and safety. And I don't feel like it's a complete impact to the historic character of it, but that can be discussed.
Marianne or Justin?
I don't have any comments on
No,
this.
nothing additional for me either.
So I think it's good to hear you're not necessarily in a rush. I think we would do a site visit. However, and Andrea, you can correct me if I'm wrong, I think it may be worth having a discussion with the Conservation Commission before maybe we even do the site visit, because a lot of this project is in the 100-foot setback.
Yeah.
Not a lot of it is in the 100-foot setback. It's not.
To the site plan.
It's, I think you take a closer look. It's not even close to the 50-foot. The 100-foot line touches the back. Let's see. Let's see if I see it on this plan. I can't really.
I can't either.
It's a small portion of the
line.
den. It's the brick patio, and it's a little bit of whatever's on the first floor.
Yeah, it looks like it catches the den.
Bedroom and part of the family.
Yeah, the 100-foot buffer zone.
Yeah.
100-foot buffer zone. I've done a number of projects in the town. I understand, what the limitations are.
Okay.
And they've approved that on a number of times. So I'm not concerned about that. I think what I'm doing as far as conservation is bringing it into compliance. You can
The
talk.
floodplain, yeah. I mean, I live on a wetland too with the 50 and 100-foot, and I had to jump through hoops just to do work on my driveway that was within the 100-foot zone. So that's why, I don't.
Well, I'm not really doing.
Come out in 2 or 3 weeks before the next meeting and look at stakes and story poles and things like that. I wouldn't want to waste time if conservation is going to ask for changes or things to get out of that buffer zone. That's my only concern. I do think that the mass is very big. I agree with Carol and Catherine. So,
I understand where you're coming from, and we'll work on that.
Yep.
But I think what you're doing is you're going. I mean, conservation is a different area altogether. I don't think the Historic District Commission should be, at this point, discussing anything with the Conservation Commission.
I was just talking about timeline. So,
timeline on
if you and Al want to work on addressing some of our comments with the massing and stuff like that, and you want us to come out there in 2 or 3 weeks to do a site visit and be on the next meeting, we're glad to do it.
Well, I'm fine with that.
Okay.
I think,
that's all I was checking on.
Yeah, I mean, I just want to go, this is why I'm doing it separately, because if I have to come back to you guys because conservation has a problem, I will.
Okay.
But I don't anticipate that. As far as this building might be built on piers back there with no basement. So you're not even, it's like building a deck in the.
No, I understand.
And so I understand the process would be a long form process through conservation, and it would require engineering. But the thing is a little small for me to see, but there's the 100-foot.
Yeah.
And that's just the proposed deck. I'm talking about the house itself, and the 50-foot buffer is another 30 feet away. I mean, if this was if it was in the 50-foot buffer zone, it's a no deal.
I think Tracy was just trying to be considerate to your time and whether or not you were going to get approval through conservation. That might.
I'll worry about that.
Okay.
That's what I'm saying.
So then we'll have Andrea reach out. We'll have Andrea speak with you and Al on Wednesday. We'll set up a site visit between now and the next meeting.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll do a continuation to the next meeting in August, which I don't know.
The 18th.
The 18th. So we'll probably come out the 14th or something.
No, that's a Sunday. Never mind. 13th.
Can I ask you guys a favor? Since I'm not in a huge rush on this and I'm gonna be traveling, is it possible to push this off to the next meeting?
Definitely.
Whatever's convenient for you guys to get out there. I can notify the tenants. Everybody has plenty of.
Yeah, we can move it into September.
Okay.
The only thing we might have to do, Frank, we have to make a decision within period of time, 60 days within filing. So,
Okay.
so we may have to ask for an extension.
That's fine. That's not a problem with the board, is it? If we do that?
No.
It's,
Okay. I just want, I mean, I'm happy to work with you guys and it may take some time. It's a complicated site. So I'm looking forward to it.
All right.
I could use the extra time myself. Because I'll be away a little bit. Being selfish.
where are you going now?
Oh, this is the vineyard.
Nice.
Yeah, you know, it is nice, but yeah, that would be a tough one if I had to pull off a couple of new redesigns in the span of a week and a half.
Ew.
I was
Okay.
doing it for you, Al.
Thank you, Frank. Much appreciated.
All right. So we'll continue probably till September. Andrea, and you can discuss the extension.
Yep.
We'll get in touch with you after our next meeting as to when that site visit would be. Probably
Okay.
that second weekend of September. Al, do you have enough feedback?
Yes, plenty.
Okay.
I really appreciate your time. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
For your good spirits.
Yeah, I am. Thank you.
Thank you.
It was helpful. Bye.
All right.
Thanks, Frank.
Thank you.
All right. Next on the agenda, 203 North Street.
We have
I had to look
Josh.
at that twice to see, wait a minute.
Yeah, I know. I flipped it around when I first did it. Miss Tracy had to correct it for me. So
All right.
it's Josh and Caroline. Hi.
Good evening.
Hello.
How are you? Okay. You're presenting, Josh?
I will. Is somebody else? I think Tracy has been sharing his screen this evening. Is that
No,
Miss
that's
Tracy,
her,
yep,
that would be Miss Tracy.
Miss Tracy has been sharing her screen all night?
Yes. And Miss Tracy, is that possible? She's brilliant. Hello. Okay.
So good evening. My name is Josh Blevins. My wife is with us as well. We're in different locations tonight. I am the homeowner at 203 North Street. In my professional life, though, I am a real estate developer who specializes in historic rehabilitation, a lot of adaptive reuse. And in the last decade, I have rehabilitated over 1 million square feet of historic properties, but I've never actually lived in a historic home myself. So I'm excited about that opportunity, and I was able to convince my wife to take the plunge with me. So we have, I'll keep, I know we're running a little long, so I'll try to keep it brief and just open up to questions. But we're proposing very simply tonight 3 window changes. And I'll just walk through those. They're all on secondary elevations. The first is the removal of one window on a sun porch that was originally enclosed in 2008. And there's a Brosco, they're all Brosco windows in terrible shape that we propose to remove. And the second window is one on the same western elevation. In 2016, Al Kearney designed an addition on the back of the house, and I think the committee at that time approved the demolition of an existing detached garage and breezeway that were the breezeway was in this location, and that's why there's kind of that weird external condition there. And we propose on the other side of that wall, in the interior of the house, is a windowless kitchen. And we propose letting some sort of light into that kitchen. And so we propose that the new side-by-side 6/6 is there. And the only existing historic window that we propose to remove is on the other side of the house, the eastern elevation, also a secondary facade or secondary elevation. And there's it's an 1837 house. There was a series of additions on the back, series of porches that were enclosed and then built on top of on the back of the house. And this dates from one of those 20th century enclosures of a porch. And we propose to remove that window and replace with those three side-by-side windows there.
How long have you lived in the house?
We do not yet live in the house. We're currently bunking with my my wife's parents at their house down in Newport, Rhode Island.
Oh, it's a long trip. Okay. So you didn't do any of the additions on the back?
We did not. I frankly, I probably would have treated the exterior a little bit differently.
Thank you. Well, having visited it today, all I could see was a Greek revival front sort of buried. Your dormers and porches and additions on the back, and like hard to even find it now.
Agree.
So I had to find it wasn't you.
Agree. And just, I know it's not necessarily germane to tonight, but my wife liked the space of this house. I originally resisted because I think that so much of the historic character has been changed over the years. And I will also say, maybe I shouldn't say this, but I think that the addition that architect Kearney designed on the back of the house was not executed exactly on the exterior as his drawings. I think just the workman made a few changes, but I would, maybe like to change those and be true to his drawings in the next couple of years as money allows. But I'll be back then.
What's in the very, very far back? It looks like it started life as a garage or a barn, and now it looks like a house. But what's the big last chunk in the back?
That's the addition. Isn't it, Josh? That's the addition that Al did.
The behind that gray vehicle there, that's the addition that Al did. Yes.
Oh, okay. Looks like several additions, but what is it?
That is a single addition. The lower floor is a living room, and the upper floor is a primary suite.
There's a porch on the sides.
Yeah, there's a porch on the side, and there's also a basement. There's a basement, a finished basement.
Mm-hmm. Wait, a house.
So tonight's application was to replace those windows or install those windows and replace the ones that are there if there is one there. Yeah. And do we have the window types? I think we did have the window type specification.
Yeah.
We do. It's an Anderson Woodwright, and we selected that, I believe, after reviewing. I think the commission has recently approved this window. I was looking through old minutes a couple of months ago, and I, thought hopefully I could save everybody some time and find something that the committee previously has not found too objectionable.
We've approved it, yes. There have been a couple of garages where we approved that, so that they were in outbuildings. But we have approved them.
Don't we like to go to 5/8 of an inch, or am I dreaming that? I remember 3/4 before.
You're not dreaming.
Thank you.
Right. The 3/4 is thick.
Yeah. Does it come in at 5/8?
It is a bit thick, and I think that's the narrowest muntin that is offered in this particular product.
And the windows that are there now are what?
So the only window that is being replaced is that one that's the only historic window. There's the 2008 window that's being removed.
It's on sheet 2, upper right there. The upper right quadrant.
Yes, that's correct. And then on sheet 4, I think is a photo of the actual window, which is a 6/6.
So is this the best match you could find for the windows that are existing in the house in terms of the muntin width?
I'll be honest, I selected that window, or my kitchen designer selected that window after I had mentioned that the committee had not objected to it in the past. But I will say I only today looked at the minimum muntin width, and this, I do think that a 5/8 or a 1/2-inch muntin somewhere in that neighborhood would be a better choice, and in keeping with the existing muntins.
So you would do that if it were available?
I would do it if it were available, yes.
I would also suggest, I don't know if there's a design reason why the kitchen windows are off-centered with the second-story windows, but if they could be centered under the windows, I think it would go a long way to looking better and more historically balanced. And
I don't disagree, and there is a structural reason that those windows are where they are. That was I've looked at old Sanborn maps, and I think that that's where the addition, that the 1837 house ends to the right of that 2-story mast there, and the addition was a porch that was enclosed, and then they built a new porch off of the enclosed porch, and then they built a side porch or a back porch off of the enclosed porch after they enclosed the next porch. And so it's essentially 3 different porches that have been enclosed, and there used to be an exterior wall that was at some point removed, and the joists that now support the second floor room above it no longer have an exterior wall to tie into, and so there's a wall that runs perpendicularly underneath there, just to, as you're looking at the left of the proposed window, that supports that mess above it.
Well, to my eye, if there is a structural reason, it's not a deal breaker at all for me.
Well, who's going to see it? It's way back in the back.
Right, and it has some quirk. Is a positive.
We like quirkiness.
We like a little quirk.
Okay, Justin.
Well, that's one of the reasons we like you, Catherine, so much.
That's for sure. I would just say that I would love to see the best match for the majority of the existing windows is how I would feel about that. And then I'm wondering about the east elevation, that the triple that you're replacing a single with. Is there a reason they're shorter? Could you do two big ones instead of 3 little guys?
There is a proposed counter on the other side of that window and a sink, and that's why those are a little bit shorter.
Gotcha. Okay, thank you.
And that's back pretty far off the street.
Yeah,
It is. If on sheet 3, I think it is. I know this doesn't matter for your consideration, but just to orient you, there's a large green hedge down that whole side of the house.
Can't count hedges, but
Exactly.
it's way back off the street.
Sure. just to orient you
I'd
where
add-
that is.
I'd add to that, I drove by there. It's pretty tight to the neighboring home, so it's difficult to see even if the hedges weren't there. It's pretty difficult to see that far back. It's on the back side of them.
Right. I think we're less than a foot off the property line at that point.
Oh, I got, thank you.
So I'm not really hearing any objections to the proposed openings themselves. I do think it's probably not the correct window. So we can probably make a motion to approve the changes, and we would have you follow up with Andrea on the final selection of the replacement window to get something that matches as closely as possible to the existing windows, something closer to that 5/8. 5/8 is kind of the biggest we generally look for. I think you said 1/2 inch, but I think you'll find 5/8 is more common. Mutton. Everyone agree?
And everything will be trimmed in the, to match,
Trim to match,
in wood.
in wood.
Thank you.
Alright. So does someone want to make a motion?
I'll make a motion. I'd like to make a motion for a certificate of appropriateness for the application at 203 North Street to remove existing windows as indicated on plans dated revisions 7 July 2022. The application describes the work as one east elevation window, one west elevation window, and then to add a new, 2 new west and 3 new east elevation windows. The window choice, if a 5/8 Muntin is available, that will be specified. And are we saying that we confirm the exact window with Andrea?
Yeah, I think the final window selection should be submitted to Andrea.
Yes, and trimmed in wood and painted to match the rest of the house. That's my motion.
Is there a second?
Second?
All right, I think Marianne tried, but she was on mute. All right,
Be
Carol.
faster.
Carol, how do you vote?
Aye.
Marianne, how do you vote?
Aye.
Justin, how do you vote?
Aye.
Catherine, how do you vote?
Aye.
It's 9 for me. Motion passes 5-0.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Welcome. Welcome to Hingham.
Thank you.
Excited.
All right.
Oh, wait, my question was, is it Caroline or Carolyn?
Caroline.
Oh, lovely. Okay. Nice to see you both.
Well,
Thank you so much.
Bye.
Next on the agenda, 194 North Street. Replace existing windows. Catherine, Eric, Andrea, and myself all visited as a group today. I believe Carol may have gone separately.
Yeah.
So we took a look at those today. I don't believe they are historic. The house was built around 1880 or so, according to the owners. So the windows are very old. They're single pane. They're true divided light. They've got storms. But the tracks on the side kind of made me believe that they weren't the original windows. There's no wavy glass. There are a few broken panes of glass. The putty in the Muttons is in bad shape. Some, but they're definitely old. I thought they were 50 or 60. I think Catherine thought maybe they were even a little older than that. But they're not the original. Doesn't mean they're not historic. But I believe the Libret, if I'm pronouncing that correctly, moved in
Libret.
about a month ago. Libret,
Hi.
moved in about a month ago. And my guess is they don't like these windows.
Correct.
All right.
Well,
That's pictures upside down.
We moved from a historic home in Duxbury, built in 1770, and it had 59 windows, all of which were different, and I broke every nail every time I tried to wash any of them. So my dream in my 60s is to have windows that don't have storms or screens and that I can easily clean. As far as historic, we're very willing to do whatever you want us to do. That's all. Mine is just having a double hung window, for ease of cleaning. And is the only what factors into this is it's technically a condo, so we are attached to 192 North. And the owner there, Madeline Robertson, she is in agreement with this. So she will do whatever it is we do, basically.
Mr. Chairman, I'm sorry, Madeline is here.
Oh, she is, okay.
So, yeah, she is
Oh,
here.
yeah, hi.
So if you'd like to comment, Madeline, just let us
John,
know.
Hi,
I'm sorry, I cut in and out. I'm in a remote location, so thank you for including me. Hello?
You're
Yeah,
welcome.
we can hear you.
Looks like you're someplace fun.
Well, we had a lovely dinner down in Plymouth. We went whale watching this afternoon. So it was a really, yeah. My only concern is I'm the other half of the building, and how whatever they want to do, I don't want to block them from doing anything, but I was thinking that the front of the house at least should have some uniformity to it. So I don't know how what is my responsibility then? They want to change their windows. I understand that. I'd like to change mine. It wasn't something I was planning on doing this year.
I think the first issue is
Hello?
Yeah, we can hear you.
We can hear you.
Good, Catherine.
I would just say, I think the first issue is really whether these windows are need to be replaced. We have done a lot of work compiling an educational packet about historic windows, and it talks a lot about the energy efficiency of historic windows, with when they're used with a very good storm window, and there's a lot of great information there, and I'd urge the homeowners to take a look at that before they ask to restore them or replace them. I would say our primary focus is restoration and preservation. And these windows look to me like a really good candidate for restoration. The glazing needs to be redone. They were peeling, but it didn't see any clear rot.
You can from the inside, pardon me. If you came in, I think it's easier to see on the
I'm
sills.
sorry, you lost. I couldn't hear what you were saying.
From the inside of the house, there is rot, and it's not every window, but it is terribly rotted. But most of them have some degree of deterioration.
Yeah, I totally understand.
We're in a situation where several of the windows we can't move. I mean, literally can't move without probably breaking them. And in our bedroom, the bottom of the window doesn't meet the ground. They're not in good shape. I'm sorry.
Yeah. So
my side is a bit better, but I've seen the problems on your side too, so I do understand that.
I'm completely understand and sympathize. We do have resources available. We have great contractors who are familiar with historic windows. Ben Wilcox and Hank Wilcox both work with historic wood windows, getting them working more fluidly. And they're great restoration artists. So,
But I thought someone just said that they weren't historic.
Well,
Doesn't mean they're not old though.
that doesn't mean they're not
Like,
old.
no, I said that they weren't original,
Right,
but I said
okay.
it didn't mean, but I do believe they're old, and it doesn't mean that they're not historic.
Okay, but again, my purpose is to eliminate screens and storms.
I definitely hear that and empathize. That is a challenge for these historic homes, and we are,
Would that
unfortunately,
mean that I need to remove my screens and storms too? Or just
We-
the front door?
Madeline, if we could just ask you, the chair will recognize you so that you can respond, but we've got a member talking right now. Okay?
I'm sorry, I can't hear very well. Go ahead.
That's all right.
I would just say that, that we're in the business of preservation and restoration. And from what I could see, I'd like to hear Tracy and Eric's point of view.
Yeah,
It felt like a good candidate for restoration.
I think generally, the application is not really complete, and I think that was the concern coming in, which is why Andrea kind of tried to schedule a last-minute site visit today. But there's not even a replacement window suggested. One of you noted we do whatever we asked. Catherine is completely right. Our first response is, can these be restored? And I don't think that question has been answered. And I think it would be useful to get a handful of contractor names that Hingham has worked with over the years on these types of windows and have them look at it and kind of determine, and they're honest. They're not trying to, spend more money or anything like that. They're actually, very good, which is why we recommend them, as to what is eligible to be restored versus what is eligible to be replaced. And I think if we had that information as well as what is the replacement window that you are looking to use, that's
We don't know.
Yeah.
Actually, I'm sorry, when we met with Andrea, my impression was to just get the application in, because you can't go ahead and, order or really decide on windows until you go through the board. And at the time, when Andrea gave us the application, she told us that there were contractors and that could all be done down the road. So that's really why we didn't look into it, other than the handyman that we've had for years said it would likely cost more to restore them than to replace them. But we'll be happy to have people make estimates, but
Yeah, we'll definitely look into restoration, but then alternatively come up with a proposal to bring back to you in the event that the restoration isn't feasible. So we're just here tonight, pointing out that the windows have problems and we want to address them.
Yeah, agree. And, I think we noted on the site today that we wouldn't necessarily be concerned with the windows in the back, even though the MBTA line is technically a public right of way. We did see a train go by. You can see the back of the house from the train, but I think the commission would probably be, okay with not worrying about the back because it's not viewable from the front. And there may even be some flexibility with the side versus the front, knowing that it is a condo. We're not trying to put Madeline in a bad spot and make her necessarily spend money, but we are looking for some conformity. So generally our stance is if it's true divided light with storms, we want it replaced with true divided light, and the storms, in place. I'm an architect. I personally have a little bit of conflict with that, but I understand the historic reasoning of it, and I've seen the energy numbers that, you know, say the single glazed and the storm are very similar to a more, you know, modern type window. But that may be a way to, you know, get the side and the back to be what you want. And maybe those 3 windows in the front have to be something a little more, you know, maybe not what you're looking for. The basement window in the front is a aluminum replacement window. I don't think there's a whole lot of issue with swapping that one out. But I think the other 3 on the front are probably the ones that we're going to have the most interest in. As meeting with the storm and the true divide and things like that.
Yeah, it's fine.
So we'd be thankful to get some contractors because as I said, we are from the South Shore, but we don't know people.
Sure.
In Hingham.
Where's Eric? I can't see you.
Yeah, I'm here. I think a lot of what I wanted to speak to is said by Tracy. I think what you're both looking for is direction on the window that you would use for a replacement, and hopefully, you know, we can give you that. The full divided light is definitely going to be something everyone's going to want. You might have heard from, if you're listening to the meeting prior, the munting, the narrower it is generally the better. So 5/8 is probably as large as it should be. So if you're looking at a manufacturer, that's something to look for. And I'm sure Andrea can put this together for you or talk you through it too, if you need some support, you know, finding the right window. But I think that's probably the direction you're looking for the next submission, is making sure it sounds like you want to, if we are going replacement in some of them, getting the right ones.
I would also say that a schedule of all the windows and their condition documented with photographs and that kind of thing would be very useful to the commission in making a decision.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, sure.
Mr. Chairman, perhaps Madeline, do you have something to add?
You're on mute, Madeline.
You're mute, Madeline. We'll unmute you. Tracy, can you Miss Tracy, can you unmute Madeline?
I will certainly try. Just a moment.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm sorry that took.
That's all right.
Well, I mean, I want to look right to how they want within the, you know, I don't want to restrict them. Interest is in how I'm replacing my windows all this time, and so how do I work with them? How do I, you know, not go over my budget? I knew they were planning on doing all their windows, and when I looked into it, it's basically. But how much is it going to cost me to have to do the ones that match? Like, the first and second floors, 3 of the windows are mine and 2 are going to my unit, and 2 of them are on their side. So I looked into this when I bought the place 4 years ago, and I learned that it was prohibitively expensive to do anything with the windows that was in compliance with what the Historic Commission would allow. So I didn't follow through on that. I guess those are my thoughts.
Yeah, I don't think anything that we would approve for the Lebrett's would put you in a position where you had to do something.
Okay.
You know, what we would be looking for, there was a question when we were out there whether 3 were theirs and 2 were yours or vice versa, and you've clarified that now. 3 are yours and 2 are theirs. You know, whatever they wanted to do on those 2, we would be looking for them to try to match what is there. And those may be the 2 that have to, you know, may have to be repaired, you know, in kind and maintain the storms. And that way the front the front keeps the consistency. you know, and we may, you know, have a little bit more flexibility on the side, and we may not be concerned at all in the back. So we're not looking to do anything to put you in any, you know, situation where you would have to spend money or replace all your windows.
I really appreciate that. One question, the other, they're the 5 windows that are the facade, but then also we each have side porches that have doors with panes in them that are visible from the street. And so I don't know, I have guidance about how we deal with that.
So,
does that make sense?
LeBretts, were you looking to replace the door? Or
No, we were just gonna paint it black, which it already is, but it's, you know, all in bad, you know, the paint is bad.
if it's
but
black and
no.
you're painting it black, I don't think we have any issue.
None.
Okay. I would just like to ask, because I understand that ordering windows and, you know, getting this, you know, it takes time, you know, and for COVID, everything's, you know, behind. And I just don't want to be doing this in January, you know. So if you could give us the names, we would start on that tomorrow.
I can do that. I'll do that. I will call you or and give you that information tomorrow.
Great. Okay.
Right,
Thank you very much.
Oh, and
So-
Andrea, you'll pass along the
Yes.
window packet, the educational packet.
Thank you.
Really
Yes.
Okay.
So we'll continue this to the next meeting, which is only, I think, 3 weeks away, because we're
right.
a week late. Andrea has to put the agenda together 2 weeks in advance. So please let her know if you're going to have the information ready by then. It's a pretty short turnaround. But
we will certainly try.
I'm sure we'll do it for her tomorrow.
Thank you.
Okay?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
We'll be in touch. Thanks a
Thank
lot.
you.
Bye,
Nice to meet you
Madeline.
all.
Thank you, Madeline.
Hi, thank you. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Last on the agenda, Hingham Historical Society, the Old Ordinary, and our good friend, Mr. Ben Wilcox, is with us.
I'm ready when you are.
We're ready.
I'm sorry, we do have Dr. Gallo. She's with us as well, as representing the society, so she may also have a comment.
Yes, Ben Wilcox, contractor representing the Hingham Historical Society for their project, The Old Ordinary. The goal here is we're putting in full-time heating and air conditioning into the building so they can use it year-round. One of the things that affect the streetscape slightly is 2 air conditioning condensers that we've attempted to locate on the left side of the building, as you can see on the drawing. We picked a location that has the least impact for all the visitors, plus the streets. The front door of the building is actually on the right-hand side. The rear yard is actually used for events. The left side is only parking. So we thought that might be the best spot. Also, if you look at the middle photograph, that's where we intend to put it, right in front of the fire equipment apparatus that's existing now. We thought we'd combine the 2 air conditioning units there and put a fence around it to mask all of them. It's the least visible place we could find on the property. I've used these fences before for the same purpose, and driving by, you don't even notice anything behind them. Any questions?
Are the AC on the street side or on the back side?
Left side.
But facing the street or facing the back?
It's
facing the street.
Facing
See on the plan.
Yeah, you can see it from the street, Tracy.
They're nearest Lincoln Street.
And there's no issue with fire department gaining access to that equipment?
We have to hold them at least 3 or 4 feet away from their equipment.
And it's not locked or anything, so they have
Right.
access to. Okay. Dr. Gallo, any comments or anything to add? I'll take the silence as a no.
No. She's maybe
Um,
Dr. Gallo.
Yeah, I would just say I'm just certainly aware of the project, and I think this is really, even though it's visible as you may be walking toward the house down Lincoln Street, it is the least obvious place available for this, and I like the idea of the fencing. I think that will do just what Ben said it would do, and that is that people won't notice that there's anything behind it. Your attention is drawn to that entrance to the basement as you're looking at the side.
Ben, the fence is wood or what material?
Yeah, the fence will be wood, most likely cedar or paint grade mahogany, typically what we.
Paint it white to match the trim.
Paint it white to match the trim.
Carol?
Has anyone spoken to Peter Blamford, who will be looking from his living room window right at all this?
He was notified. He received a notification, a butter's notification.
And no comment?
No comment.
What was the consideration about not putting it all the way around the back?
The backyard is actually used for events from time to time. There's a technical issue also. The entire back, maybe 30 feet of the building doesn't even have a crawl space.
Yeah, it's new.
It'd be difficult to get the AC lines out to the back, but the real reason is because it's an event spot.
Oh.
This
is
project,
good. And can I ask you, I don't know, which units you're putting in, but will you be able to see the top of them over that fence, or is that fence tall enough to cover them?
so the idea would be just the height of the units. We don't want the fence to overpower the bulkhead that goes next to it.
It'll be even.
Then was there thought to putting it behind the bulkhead?
So we could put it behind the bulkhead, but what that would do is right next to the other side of the bulkhead is the kitchen door and the two large kitchen windows. During the tours, the display of the kitchen is one of the highlights of the tour, and these air conditioning units will be right outside those windows. Also, when they're having outside events, the tool room door, which will be right next to the air conditioning units, is actually used quite a bit.
The tool room going to the basement, the bulkhead?
Yeah, it's on the left side of the bulkhead.
Oh, there's a door there.
Yes.
And how far does this fence, does it come all the way to the corner of the structure?
No, just enough to enclose the two air conditioning units.
So how far from the front of the building that end up being?
So about 25 feet back from the street.
The front of the fence will be 25 feet back?
Correct.
Thank you.
That bottom drawing is, I think I'm correct, Ben, that is a drawing of the fence. It is not the building, our building.
Correct. It's just a drawing of the fence, right, Dorothy?
And how far will the fence come out from the building?
About 4 feet.
4 feet out?
Yeah.
And like 4 feet tall?
Correct, yeah.
So how deep is the bulkhead? Is that 4 feet?
That's about 5.5 to 6 feet deep. So it'll be set back from the bulkhead.
So set back from the bulkhead, but enclosing the red fire buttons and.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions?
Not for me.
Yeah.
No.
Generally, I don't have too much issue because again, this is completely reversible in the future. Not that anyone's getting rid of air conditioning. Does anyone want to make a motion?
I'll do it.
All right, Catherine?
I'd like to make a motion for certificate of appropriateness for 21 Lincoln Street, Old Ordinary, for a proposed fence to hide two air conditioning units that will go from the step in from the existing bulkhead and the 25 feet that and ends 25 feet from the face of the building. The fence will be wood, painted white, and
And I see a date on the drawing, 7/12/22.
thank you,
Yeah.
Justin.
Yeah.
Is there a second?
Second.
Justin, how do you vote?
I vote aye.
Mary Ann, how do you vote?
Aye.
Carol?
I am very happy about this. This is a great move.
Catherine, how do you vote?
Aye.
And that's an aye for me. So motion passes 5-0. Thank you, Ben. Thank you, Dr. Gallo.
Thank you. Thank you all.
And thank you all.
So,
All right.
before we finish, I just wanted to give you an update. Last night at the traffic committee meeting, the traffic committee did approve the bollards in front of 182 North Street. So that's, and it wasn't easy. And Dr. Gallo was there too. And so there was some back and forth, but nevertheless, it did get approved. So that's a happy project. So, and then the other thing I want to bring up, we can't discuss that there is and I've talked to Tracy about this. If you can drive by and take a look at the on wall, it is actually concrete block with a thin fieldstone facade. And the plan specifies that it would be fieldstone. And so that is something that we will hear in the future. But if you would take an opportunity to zip by and take a look at it, that'd be great.
Which house is that, Andrea?
219 Main.
Your favorite project, Carol?
Funny, I just looked up cement blocks today for another project, but they're like 1910.
Okay.
Call minutes. Did I miss them?
No, you didn't. And thank you. Miss Tracy had them to me weeks ago. And I was just so completely.
I was talking to Andrea on the phone the other day, and I was just have commission members decide that might offer support or help to new members and old, me including. I've only gone to 2 meetings in person, but I feel a little bit like I'm operating in
Without the benefit of collaboration.
Yeah, so I love it. Allows me to participate from all over where I am and be a better how other people feel about
I agree. I think it's helpful to share advice and how to assess projects.
Yep.
I didn't know if we wanted to together in person once in a while.
Would that be different from the September meeting that they were talking about in terms of?
I was thinking on a
administrative
regular
stuff?
basis. for instance, I don't know if I can say this, but I guess I will. There's a few projects in town that I've driven by and that I've approved that have.
And you want to tear your hair
Yes.
out? Thank you.
And so I would really like to be able to say that to you and say, oh my God, this looks horrible, but I never get the opportunity. And just also say, let's not do that again.
Well, keep in mind, I think that's great. But if we have to put it on an agenda meeting. So
yes, it has to be a public meeting, but I can say that a previous project hurts me, can't I?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Anything wrong with saying that in public? Probably not.
Yeah,
Probably.
I can say that. Attached garage on Main Street next to the houses down from the fire station.
Okay, stop.
Too descriptive, too much information.
Too much information tonight.
So my understanding with the latest extension of the remote meetings is I believe it's up to the commissions, the different commissions. I believe that is it the health department that's meeting in person? There's one or two commissions that are meeting in person.
Well, Board of Health always has, I think, or since the restriction was lifted. So Board of Health, and there are, I think the school community meets in person all the time. And let's see who else, I don't know, but there are a lot of people who just meet remotely, but it's whatever you choose to do. We can do it
So I think
every so often. I don't know.
I think there's two options. If we were to say we were going to meet in person, I still think that Zoom is a part of that. I don't think we can require all the applicants to be in place. I believe that all the towns and cities and jurisdictions throughout the state have realized that they're actually getting a little bit more attendance, public input from abutters and neighbors and things like that, which is a good thing. So even if we met in person, it may be that, you know, Catherine, you're visiting your in-laws or parents wherever they are and joining remote, things like that. So we could say, you know, Andrea would have to make sure that we have a room and we have a cameraman and things like that, and the screen. We'd probably still be viewing things on a large TV screen or something. I don't know how that works. But we could go to a hybrid mode. I know I'm interested in meeting in person. I know Daniel's interested. I'm not trying to speak for him while he's not here, but I know he's interested in meeting in person. I do know that there's some people who prefer that like the flexibility of meeting from home. Like as soon as I click end, I'm putting Chase to bed, you know, and that saves me 10 minutes from driving from town hall. The other option is, you know we need to have a business meeting very soon. There's been a handful of topics that, you know, many of you have brought up, Carol, Catherine, others. We want to discuss in person. We could set up a series of those, maybe do them quarterly or something, and have those meetings be in person, but we get the agenda out. You know, we have a Zoom that allows people to join if they want. My guess is there may not be anybody, but you know, we could do it that the hearings, the Thursday of the month is still this kind of Zoom, and we do maybe a quarterly commission meeting in person. You know, I think those are the two options. We either go, or there's three options. We keep this all Zoom, or we go to a hybrid model, and then we could add the in-person business quarterly meeting if we think we need to meet quarterly, and maybe we haven't seen each other in 2.5 years.
I know. Let me say, I just found out yesterday at our department heads meeting that the school department used to meet in their own meeting room, offices out of it. The school committee will be using town hall. So that means that very proactive apparently in their, meeting set up. So we have had meetings as department heads, partially remote, and they've worked well. So I have to investigate how that could work. And I'm sure I just need to understand what we need.
I think as much as I'd love to meet in person every month, I think if half of town hall and half of us were anywhere in the country or world, that might be a little challenging. So my gut is we keep these hearing meetings remote, but maybe we set up a core meeting, and I think I do that in September. I don't know if we want to discuss that in August, but I thought we were trying to get past Labor Day because we had that business meeting, but maybe we for next month.
Okay.
Since it's a short turnaround, hopefully there's only 4 or 5 projects next week or next month, and maybe I just jinxed us and we'll have 7.
Do you think we have enough business to discuss quarterly? Maybe we do.
I don't know, maybe it only has to be biannually.
I'm wondering if every other month we could meet.
Or we just, when we feel we need.
We can.
Or, yeah. And then at least we could know ahead of, it's every other month and it's going to be in town.
So how about we'll put it on the agenda for August to discuss the agenda items we want to have for a commission business meeting in person in September.
And it may be, depending on the availability of rooms in town hall, we may have to.
Just so it's air conditioned.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'll be here.
Or we do ordinary.
Now
there you go. So cold there. Wonderful. Can I ask a question?
Sure.
There was something what sounded like a site visit to me, and I didn't know. I just want to make sure.
The only project we discussed is attorney, and I think they. I don't
mean future. I mean, as a you can already see.
Oh no! You know what, Carol? I thought because the didn't have
recording in
screen,
progress.
Just tell them no. Just instead of window.
All right, we can't talk about this anymore.
I have a question.
Thank you very much.
If, for instance,
love you, Carol.
I was sick and there was, could you have to be rung in as a member on that? You could not call in and as the public or anything. Gotcha.
All right. If there's nothing else. So I do say, I think we should discuss at the August meeting in September. Catherine is full of things over the past 6 months or so. I know Carol has some items, if there's anyone else. Should they do in advance?
Send them to me. Have things you want to put on that agenda, send it to me.
Okay. And then
remember mine.
I hope you'll show up next month.
I don't scare too easy.
Oh, well, there's a challenge.
Glad to have you.
Yes, I appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
So if there's nothing else, motion to adjourn.
Move to
Is there a
adjourn.
second?
We have to take a roll
Right,
call.
Catherine, how do you vote?
Yeah, they're all roll call votes on Zoom.
Catherine, how do you vote?
Aye.
Carol?
Aye.
Justin?
Aye.
Marianne?
I.
It's an aye for me. Meeting adjourned.
All right. Good evening.
Thank you.
Aye.